This is part 3 of 3 of business ownership types. Ownership form, firm size and risk are one thing we'll cover. Cooperatives, joint ventures, syndicates, organic growth versus growth through mergers. And this is a continuation of an earlier video. Once again, this is general information. Laws regarding business types are constantly changing. Always check on what's current. Let's talk about ownership form, firm size, and risk. Let's talk about a different definition of risk. I've got another video on risk. This is a little bit different. It is the degree of uncertainty about a firm's future earnings. Sole proprietorships have less access to funds, and that's riskier than a larger partnership or corporation that has more access to funds. If a sole proprietor has a bad year and can't borrow money, they're out of business. With a corporation, that's a lot more rare. So, less money to cover losses and less capital to diversify and grow, yes. More owners equal more funds potentially available, but there are more people to share the profits. So if you have more people, you theoretically have more access to funds to cover bad times or to grow the company. A sole proprietorship can reduce risk by converting to a partnership, and a partnership can reduce risk by converting to a corporation. So each one of these, you're going down the risk chain. So let's look at a case of gambler's ruin. So this means this applies to smaller companies. We play cards. Assume we're about equal in skill. I start with $10 million and you start with $1,000. Who's going to win? Well, I can outlast you, right? I can have several bad hands, but all you need is a few and you're gone. What if I had 10 million and you had 1 million to start? Okay, the risk is a little bit more even, but it's still not great. A not-for-profit corporation, so this is also called a nonprofit. They're corporations that are organized to provide social, educational, or religious services rather than earn a profit. Here are some examples over here. These include charities, museums, private schools, colleges, charitable organizations, and so on. There are strict government tax guidelines to obtain a tax-exempt status. I had a friend who tried to buy a house. He was going to use it to house students, and then when they were done, he was going to keep it and sell it at a profit. And a friend of mine said, oh, no, you cannot do that. The IRS looks carefully at these often abused categories, such as home churches. Cooperatives. This is a user-owned and controlled legal entity from which benefits are derived and distributed on the basis of use by people with similar interests, such as suppliers or customers, to reduce costs and gain economic power. So here's a lot of examples over here. It's like a corporation. It has limited liability, unlimited lifespan. It has an elected board of directors, administrative staff. The profit goes to the member owners and so forth. These are typical in agriculture, dairy, students, retailer like Ace Hardware, and consumer like REI. So they're operating as a company, but it's a group of specific individuals who have the same type of interests. So they may all be dairy farmers, they could all be hardware stores, something like that, and they group together. It is not like a general group of people coming together. These are people with specific interests. A seller co-op is very similar. It's individual producers. They're people who make stuff, who act as a single entity to compete more effectively with large producers. So these are oftentimes small farmers that group together to form one of these so that they can get the benefits of being a large producer. Then there's the buyer co-op. It's a group that unites for combined purchasing power. So small hardware stores, student co-ops, and there are many lists of these online. A joint venture is an agreement between two or more legal entities to form a new business to achieve a specific goal and operate for a period of time. It is 1 + 1 = 3. This is the typical math they give. So it's one company plus one company forms a third company. This is not a merger, it's not an acquisition. So it's literally two companies just forming a separate company for a period of time. So Honda and LG Energy Solutions, they make batteries. Sony and Honda, they got together to make an EV. Okay, syndicates, temporary association of individual or firms organized to perform a specific task that requires a large amount of capital. So these are often used to underwrite risky insurance policies. So if you're going to launch a rocket, a satellite, they cost hundreds of millions of dollars, rocket blows up, it's all gone. You want insurance on that, so somebody like Lloyd's of London will get together a bunch of people and they will put in money to back up that claim in case there is a claim on that rocket. Okay, so let's talk about corporate growth, and they often talk about organic and external. Organic growth is a term, it's kind of one of those jargon things. That means growth from inside the firm, that's it. It's using retained earnings, your own ideas, R&D, whatever. So you grow from inside the company, you don't bring in money from outside. So for example, you take dollars from division A to create a new division that's going to make new products or enter a new market, something like that. It's organic, as in it doesn't use outside fertilizer. Then there is growth through mergers and acquisitions, M&As. And these are a favorite topic of a lot of people. We'll go over what's wrong with them. So a merger is when you combine two equals to form a new company. So it takes on a new corporate identity. So 1 + 1 = 1. Yeah, so these companies, one of these two companies goes away, or both of the companies goes away, and there's a new one. So it's different than a joint venture where you have 1 + 1 = 3. You can do it through acquisition. So one company just goes out and buys another one, or an investor group purchases a corporation. So it's big fish swallows a small fish. That's usually. Sometimes it does it backwards, but oftentimes the acquired company's name is lost to history. There's a hostile takeover. So this is when management and the board of directors of the firm that's targeted, the one that's going to be eaten, resists the merger. They don't want to do it. They don't want to be merged. And there's a lot of ways to do this. If you're interested, I can make another video on it. So then there's a tender offer. And basically what this is a company or an individual comes along and they tell the shareholders of XYZ company, hey, I'm willing to give you $50 above the current market value for your shares. And what they're going to do is they're going to buy out enough shares to take control of the company. So this can be a friendly takeover or it can be hostile. Maybe shareholders or the management want this to happen. Maybe they don't. If they want it to happen, it's friendly. If not, it's called hostile. Proxy fight. This is where you obtain enough shareholder votes to control the targeted company. So you either go out on the market, you go out to the New York Stock Exchange or wherever, and you buy up enough shares that you can now outvote the rest of the people. So whether that be management or other shareholders, and then you take control of the company because you get to outvote them. Let's talk about a horizontal merger. So this is another one of these 1 + 1 = 1 type mergers. And this is where firms at the same stage in the same industry merge to reduce costs, expand product offerings, reduce competition. So for example, Bank A and Bank B merge, and they might call it Bank C. Or maybe you have these two stores over here. You have 1 + 1, and they merge to form a brand new entity. Then you have the vertical merger, vertical integration. So a firm buys another firm in the same industry, but it's either higher or lower in the stage of production or sales. So over here, maybe we have an ice cream company and they buy up some farms and they buy up some ice cream shops and they merge to form Ice Cream Co., which includes all of these entities. But these three entities become one. It is done to buy raw materials, distribution, or customers. So maybe you want to keep raw materials out of the hands of your competitors or distributors from distributing your competitors' products. Usually it involves buying a supplier or customer. So for example, a clothing manufacturer like Nike, and this is just an example, buys a fabric manufacturer. So they go up the chain, and they buy a retail store chain and they go down the chain. That would be going down the chain. You have conglomerate mergers. So these are companies in unrelated areas that come together to reduce risk. I've made a video about that, and it will be coming out soon. It's about conglomerates. These are often firms with different seasonal or business cycle patterns. So for example, GE, but GE has been breaking up, so it's less so now. An old example is Tenneco. They did shipbuilding, houses, food, oil and gas, farm equipment, etc. Almost every area of the economy. ITT was another one of these. It's not so common anymore. And again, I have a more detailed discussion on that. Leveraged buyout as a corporate takeover financed by large amounts of borrowed money. And yeah, so for example, say BYD wants to buy Tesla. They go to the bank and they borrow enough dollars to get a controlling share of a percentage of Tesla stock, and then they pay off the loan. So what are the motivations for M&As, mergers and acquisitions? Well, you can have improved performance of the resulting entity in theory. So yeah, financial restructurings can lead to higher efficiencies. So these are all the theoretical things. Cutting costs, you'll get better management, improved purchasing power. That's because you're going to keep the best management and get rid of the worst. You have more purchasing power because you have more money, you have more availability to debt. You can sell off or merge duplicated facilities, and you can get rid of the return on equity killers. You can reduce competition. So yeah, you get rid of market duplication or excess marketplace capacity. Historic merger was HP and Compaq. There was just too many PC companies in the world, so HP bought out Compaq to reduce that. You can lay off employees and management, so you reduce HR duplication. You can refinance the company, so you can get better interest rates and payments, because bigger entities often get lower interest rates, or maybe the time has changed and lower interest rates are available. Increase market share. You can buy customers, as we set up here. It can be. Cost-effective expansion growth, ways to broaden product lines or acquire new markets. So for example, BlackRock and Preqin, or HP Apollo, or IBM and Lotus. Now, some of these you may not have heard of for various reasons. Okay, so let's talk about this little note right here. 90% plus of all M&As fail. So why are they so common if 90% plus fails? That seems like that seems like a gamble you'd never want to take. Well, the fact is that failing CEOs get a distraction from their performance. This is very common. CEOs are rarely fired during M&As because the board and the shareholders are afraid of too much disruption during a critical time like an M&A. It draws a lot of attention to attention-seeking CEOs, and there are several other reasons. Okay, well, that's it for part 3 of 3 for business types. I've got another video on details of conglomerates and more in the works. Okay, on to the next video.